Good morning, it's Ryan here. As you can see, I am beautiful. I'm actually just woken up. It's 10 o'clock, 10:12 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I went and watched Lucy yesterday, and actually it was a fucking awesome movie. So check it out if you're into science fiction. I actually bought a book on the transhumanist wager, so I'm reading it. That's kind of the topic it is. Anyways, let's talk about the squat and low back pain. Something that I am pretty good expert about, something that I suffer from, and something that's messed up my knee also. And how do you fix this? I got some comments recently, and some people messaged me there to do a form check. And I think one of the things you gotta remember and realize when it comes to squatting, and being probably the most complicated movement in the big three lifts, and why it's the most complicated is because it is the longest range of motion, right? And people who have back pain, their back gets tight, the reason why your back gets tight, or you may have a back issue, or why I messed up my SI joint, is because you don't prioritize spinal mechanics. And what that simply means is that your spine is not solid, it's not rigid, your core is not tight enough. I mean, that might be a little bit oversimplified, but simply your core is not tight enough. And when your core is not tight enough, it's going to make your spine move around when you get to the bottom of the squat, or when you go up to the top of the squat. Your spine essentially going to look like an accordion, if you can imagine that. Another thing too that kind of happens also is that depending on your flexibility, like if you're very flexible, sometimes what I notice with some people is that they're able to kind of use more of their back kind of to arch out of the position, and that sort of is also bad because what you're doing is you're leading with a very weak muscle, or you're leading with the weakest link. I mean, you need to be leading with your thighs and your hips, because that's essentially what's doing most of the movement. And a lot of the time what we do for lack of range of motion is we end up using more, essentially what we can't do in ankle range of motion and hip range of motion due to bad motor control, we end up using our spine to kind of work around it. So we can't go down to the bottom, so what we'll do is we'll pitch forward. And then when we pitch forward, it makes so basically it pitch forward. So then what happens when you pitch forward is that the bar path gets jacked up. But the problem is you can't really defeat physics, or you can try at least. So the bar path must remain straight. And if you're lifting very heavy, essentially somewhere, typically a little, like almost near double body weight, what's going to end up happening is that your body, if you're going to make the lift, you can't do that. So something has to give you more leverage. And one of the things that will allow you to, I don't know all the terms like the moment arm or the leverage point or whatever you want to call it, you can move the hips by bending the spine so that it brings it closer to the bar to correct the bar path. I don't know if you can kind of imagine that, but the idea is that understanding that when the bar path gets jacked up, and what will end up happening is your spine will move, and that's what you don't want. If your core is extremely tight, it won't move that much, but understand that there's going to be a point where something is going to give, which will lead to a lower back issue. I had a consultation with San Francisco CrossFit with Roop and with Kelly Starrett's, one of his guys out there, and they did assessment on me through Skype. It was really great, and they kind of did an assessment on my squat through Skype. And anyways, here's the biggest thing that I learned. I haven't been prioritizing the spine. What I've been doing is I've been using my I've been flexing my spine just so I can get around my ankle range of motion problems. So what I had to do is I had to rebuild my squat totally. Apparently I wasn't tightening my core. When you go down to a squat and you're trying to get ass to grass, your spine should not move at all. There should be no flex. You should be able to have the ability and skill to tighten your abs and get down ass to grass. And one of my biggest mistakes is I was able to get ass to grass, or get below parallel at least, but I did it at the consequence of moving the spine. So that's kind of how you have to do. You have to prioritize spinal mechanics. Do not let your spine move when you squat. And that's essentially the only way you're going to be able to prevent lower back pain. You've got to have a sound motor control pattern before anything else. I mean, some people say, oh, I need to strengthen my back, or I need to strengthen my glutes, or my hip flexors are tight. These are all probably true, but more it's a combination of everything, but motor control is the number one thing. Because even if you stretch your hip flexors and you stretch your hamstrings and you improve your ankle range of motion, if you don't know how to organize yourself to get down there, it's like doing a snatch or a power clean or a full clean or doing a front squat. If you've never done these before, it feels really awkward and you're still trying to figure it out. And sometimes the way you figure it out is not the best way. You do it at a very bad sacrifice. So anyways, hope that made sense. Comment if you have questions. Talk to you guys later.